Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. Our Hermitage is underway, but you know what? Sometimes we need to take a second and just breathe in and breathe out. You know, that's the point of a place like this. When Greg A. Vaugn imagined that this fortress had been repurposed as a place for spiritual contemplation, you know, he thought that the monks who adapted this fort would allow people to really commune with nature. And I gotta say, we got a lot of comments on the last video saying, Joe, you know, the way you did these hilltops and stuff doesn't really look very communal with nature. These hilltops, terrible. Fix them. You know what? We're not going to get to that entirely today. We're going to do a landscape and pass on all of this after we've done more work on the fortress, but that is something to look forward to in future videos. Is right now, yes, this looks like a man-made quarry. It's terrible. I realize that. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, too, is to get into the spirit of the spiritual side of this vacation retreat that is intended to be a place where people can go and just become one with their thoughts and let go of the troubles of the world. I thought to myself, you know, I always wanted to do a sensory deprivation tank, and I had the opportunity recently to get a pretty decent deal on giving one a try, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit while I first talk about sometimes in order to approach spiritual or emotional balance, we need to first let go of our mistakes, and I've isolated and identified a mistake already. This wall in the back here, yep, this one, when I was reading the book plans, apparently this wall was supposed to be partially completed when the fortress was originally abandoned. So way before the monks got here, this wall was just supposed to be about 3 feet high, which is 1 block high. So we're going to go ahead and start deleting that. I say deleting, we're going to just hew away at our failures as I talk about my experience with the sensory deprivation tank. So what exactly is a sensory deprivation tank? Well, the one I went to was basically the same thing that they had in an episode of Frasier. So if you've seen the episode of Frasier where Niles has a sensory deprivation tank, you've already answered your own question. But like most people, let's just assume that you have not. I'm a weirdo for even knowing that there's an episode of Frasier like that. And so I'm just going to say it's basically this enclosed space that's designed to block sound and light. It's like pitch dark inside, and it's a tub full of water, and the water has about 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in it, which makes you very buoyant when you get inside of the tank. And the idea is, you know, if you go to any website for like a local place that provides this service, they're going to have like a huge list of medical benefits of the tank, like stress relief and muscle relaxation and stuff. And maybe some of that's legitimate. I don't know. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't speak to any of that. But what I can say is it was kind of weird. Like, you know, it's not normal for me to go into a completely dark place and float for a while. So there was kind of a novelty to it, okay? So, you know, when I first got into the tank, it wasn't like that intimidating, partially because, you know, even though it might sound kind of scary to be in a completely dark, enclosed space where you can't hear anything and you're not touching anything, like, before you get in the tank, you can look at it and go like, this thing is like 6 inches deep at most. It might have been like maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. It wasn't very deep, for one thing. And it's very clear that like the thing is not designed to trap you inside. Somebody would have a hard time doing so, even if they wanted to. So it's like, well, that's reassuring. But, you know, when I'm initially climbing in there, the first thing I'm thinking is like, yeah, this isn't very big, but like, it's kind of awkward. How do I get my body turned around the right way? And, you know, that's just enough of a distraction to kind of let your brain disengage from the claustrophobia thing where it's just like, okay, I'm in problem-solving mode now. I gotta get my body turned around in this small space, and, like, it's fine. You know, I can figure out how to get into a 6-inch deep pool and turn my body around. And by the point where you've done that, which is kind of like awkward and weird in a small space, then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just kind of float here now. And at first, it's not really that scary, partially because, too, like, you're just trying to figure out how to stop yourself from hitting the walls. Like, there are some people who talk about these sorts of things as like, oh yeah, it was like being weightless. And being very buoyant and being weightless, I'm going to say straight up, not actually the same. But they do share certain commonalities. Like, when you are in actual outer space, it is kind of annoying that it's hard to, not be touching a wall. You're going to just kind of, if you push off of one wall, you're going to drift toward the next wall, like on the opposite side of the little rocket or space station or whatever you're in. And in that way, it was kind of a lot like being weightless. Because, even though the tank was about like maybe 7 or 8 feet tall, or like, not tall, but like 7 or 8 feet head to toe, like if I stretched out my arms, I could touch both sides. But it was kind of weird because you would, if you try to center yourself, not spiritually or emotionally, but just literally physically center yourself in the tank, you start kind of drifting one way or the other at first. And so the initial novelty of just like, I feel like I should be able to stay still in a bunch of water that makes me exceptionally buoyant. There was a little bit of joy and fun in that experience, just trying to like focus, and people are like, oh yeah, it's a great way to like just focus on the existence of your body. It's like, yeah, because if you don't, you're gonna keep bumping into walls, which, it was interesting and kind of neat. I spent a lot of the time just trying to think about, I decided to set a simple goal for myself. Like, sometimes people who do a lot of meditation or whatever say like, oh yeah, this is a great way to meditate. But for me personally, whenever I've done any sort of meditation or something like that, I've always done it in an environment that has distractions. The idea of being in a completely distraction-free environment was totally new to me. Having absolutely no sounds and no light. It's weird. It kind of reminded me a little bit of being in a cave, because me and my friends would go caving all the time. Tennessee has a ton of caves, back when I was younger. But anyway, it's kind of like, this isn't the best. If you've trained yourself to focus your mind in environments that are noisy, it's actually surprisingly distracting to be free of distractions. So that was also interesting too. So then I was like, and I knew going into this that might be the case, or I suspected like, I didn't want to set expectations for myself. I didn't want to be like disappointed if I wasn't able to get into this meditative space. I was just like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to see what it's like. And you know what? I'm going to try to think about what I want to do for my birthday. Because some people, like, they are good at planning stuff like that, and I'm just terrible. And I feel like I'm a burden on my family, because they'll be like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Or what do you want to do for Father's Day? And I'll just be like, I don't know. What do you guys want to do? And they'll be like, well, that's not the point. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I'm going to be spending the time with you guys, so, like, it'd be nice if we did something we all wanted to do. And then it's just like, well, Joe, you should have things that you want to do. So, I kind of thought about some ideas for that. And one of the things is that on my actual birthday, it's the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So I was thinking that it might be fun, since we're going to have Corinne, she has to be home and asleep by like 8 or 9, or she gets super cranky anyway. I was kind of thinking it might be fun to do a live stream after we do all our other stuff. Because, like, my birthday's on a weekend, too. So, like, I'm going to do, like, family stuff one day, friend stuff another day. But I was thinking, on my actual birthday, it's the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. It'd be fun to do some sort of live stream. There's at least one hermit who is interested in doing it with me. We'll do some sort of Minecraft Apollo tribute and hang out. So if you aren't already following me on YouTube, you can subscribe there. I usually stream on all 3 services, YouTube, Mixer, and Twitch. just because I know different people have different problems with different companies or different regions have different lockouts or whatever. But yeah, I hope that you guys consider swinging by. That'll probably start after 9 p.m. Central Time, just because Corinne won't be in bed probably until 8:45. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. And then I've got other stuff planned during the day. But I try not to talk about things that I'm going to do around town before I do them, because it's not that big a town. But anyway, so that was a good thing to kind of try to think about and focus on, just as a simple objective for how something I wanted to think about while I was in the tank. So yeah, let's see. What else was interesting about it? Oh, another thing that was interesting about it is, even though, I was able to get a reasonable deal on this, it was still more expensive than going to a movie or like cheap tickets for a baseball game. Way cheaper than a hockey game, though. Nashville is a big hockey town, and hockey games are expensive here. But I was thinking, though, like, as I was doing it, I was just like, is this the sort of thing that I would like to do again? Is this the sort of thing that, like, I would benefit from doing again? Or, realistically, are the things I enjoy about this things I would just enjoy in other less costly environments? Like, if I like the fact that my cell phone is off and I don't have access to it, because you put your cell phone in, like, some super salty water, that's bad. Phone is dead. Then, nobody wants that. So it's like, well, I could leave my cell phone upstairs and go read at a park or something. I could leave my phone in the house and take breaks occasionally. Obviously, having a small child, I can't just not have my phone on all the time, because if there's an emergency. But, I can sometimes, at the point where I can get in this tank for 90 minutes once, I could say I'm going to go to the park for 90 minutes. I'm going to leave my phone in the house or in my car or something, and just kind of reset myself mentally that way. Or, other things I enjoyed about it. Let's see. Yeah, it was really dark and really quiet. Well, you know what? So are caves, and Tennessee is full of caves. I went to a ton of them when I was in high school. I know where a bunch of them are that aren't commercial. I can just go hiking and hang out in caves if I want. I'm an adult. No one's stopping me, So that was another takeaway. Like, I could, I should probably look for opportunities to do more stuff in nature that I used to do when I was younger. But, like, it's one of those things, like, when you have a kid, it's very easy to take a few years and just, like, slowly, you're just so focused on being a parent and the new challenges that you're facing that you're not thinking about, like, the things that you enjoyed when you were younger, or you put those things away because, like, at the time you can't afford them, but maybe you can again. And so it's good to revisit the sort of thing that, like, what would I want to do? So let's see. Oh, another thing I was thinking is, like, if I want to be somewhere that I have my phone turned off, I could just go to a movie. Now, there's not a lot of movies that I want to see all the time because, like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. There's some movies that are interesting to me, but it's few and far between. But the Belcourt, which is, like, Nashville's independent nonprofit theater, usually has a bunch of weird movies where, even though I don't know if I want to go see them when I see the trailers or whatever, if I go to them, I'm almost always like, oh man, this is amazing. Why would I not have wanted to go to this? So, like, maybe I need to start taking some more chances, kind of just giving artists the benefit of the doubt, and seeing what their brains have come up with, because I'm always trying to challenge myself to come up with new things, and realistically, other people are doing the same all the time, and I should be encouraging them. I should go to their movies, especially, like I said, independent films and like, weird stuff, to really stretch out my brain muscles a little bit. So, that's something where it's like, okay, so being in this tank is giving me opportunities to find ways to improve my life and think differently in the times where I'm not in the tank. That seems like a value add. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's see. What were my other kind of little takeaways or tankaways. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to do occasionally. I think I'd recommend it. The fact that I have to think about whether I would recommend it might mean for some people, like, I don't know if that's worthwhile, but, not the sort of thing I would do all the time. I was doing the math, and, like, you can sign up for some sort of crazy plan where you get to use the tank every month, and it's not especially cheap. I was kind of doing the math on it. I was like, for the cost of this plan, if I did this every year or every month for 5 years, I could just buy my own tank. And then I was like, but how heavy would it be to get a tank up the stairs to my apartment? Well, pretty heavy, but like at the same time, it's kind of like, well, I'd also need to get like 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt up the stairs. And it's just like, wow. I don't even know how much 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt costs, but I'm sure it's a lot. And then I was like, okay, so I'd have to buy the tank, I'd have to buy the Epsom salt, and then it's like, well, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And I mean, like, at that point, even if I managed to get the tank up the stairs, how much does, like, 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt even weigh? And I was like, oh, well, the answer is 1,000 pounds. It's 1,000 pounds. That's how much it is. But if that's 20 50-pound bags, do you want to carry 20 50-pound bags up a bunch of stairs? No. So, I don't know. Like, maybe that would be on my list of, like, if I was insanely rich, if I had a house, like, if I was the next Beyonce, hint, I am not the next Beyonce, but if I was, maybe my house would have one of those tanks. I don't know. But it's fun to dream sometimes. I forgot to get more sandstone. It's fun to dream sometimes. About little weird stuff like that. Realistically, I'm not going to be the next Beyonce, and I'm not going to have my own sensory deprivation tank. Although, it is kind of... Sometimes I like thinking about the engineering challenges of something like that, where I'm like, well, yeah, if I bought a tank and I carried it up the stairs with my friends, that would be a real pain, but what would it take to build one of these? It's like, yeah, a real one would cost this much, but like... What if I just went and bought a bunch of plywood? How would I make the plywood waterproof enough? And then that way lies madness and disaster if you actually plan on attempting it. But if it's just a fun thought exercise, I don't know. I had fun. I exercised my thoughts. That's 90 minutes well spent in my opinion. Okay, so this is cut sandstone I need. Oops. Let's go ahead and put the normal sandstone in here. And then we'll come to that one, and boom. Okay, great. So anyway, I figure I'm going to go ahead and kind of just continue putting in some of these walls here. Like I said earlier, I'm hoping to get the second story roughly laid out today. We probably won't detail any rooms, but if we can get some actual flooring in and get some windows in. For the roof, I was kind of thinking, now that we have andesite stairs, check these out. Boom. Isn't that pretty? Are those actually andesite? They are... No, they're polished granite stairs. But aren't these polished granite stairs pretty? Wouldn't these look great on top of this? One problem we're having is because the outer wall and the inner area is made of the same material. It's not visually the best, but I think once we get on that roof there, it's just going to really improve things. So, and we need some windows. Yeah, this is looking very boring right now. But that's okay. It was designed by the military and then adapted by monks, two of the most visually interesting groups of people in the world. No, I'm just kidding. We'll make it pretty. It deserves to be pretty. It's a wonderful concept, once again, by Greg A. Vaugn in his 2004 Dragon Magazine submission, Tammeraut's Fate. And I think we're going to try and do right by it. Time skip! Well, that was a productive time skip. Take a look at all that we have accomplished. We've got the second floor in. Now, of course, Grian is falling from a high place, but you know what? That's okay. He can always purchase one of those Did You Die boxes on credit. I hear he gives himself plenty of credit, so he should be fine. We have got this set up well, though. So we've got our scullery entrance here, kind of goes up and around. We've got connections into all these other rooms. I started putting the roof on, but then I decided, like, what if I leave part of it cut out so that people can get a sense of it? Now, these walls are obviously going to go up to the roof level. This is a balcony inside the dining hall here that's actually going to have to connect out a door to another. There's going to be a second tower that's not as big that goes here. I forgot to lay that in initially. Whoops. But you know what? It's okay. Sometimes we get distracted on big special days, and you might be saying, Joe, what could be so big and so special that you would forget to put in an entire tower? Well, let me tell you, this is my 8th anniversary on YouTube, guys. June 26, 2011. Let's just eat a potato in celebration and recognition of that moment. I created my YouTube account, and now it is June 26, 2019. And I gotta say, I don't know, part of me wants to be like, oh yeah, guys, I learned a lot over the years. And like, I did. But I don't want this episode to just be like, oh hey guys, here's all the things I learned doing YouTube. Because, in fact, I've been trying to share those every episode for 8 years. So, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, if you want to learn what 8 years of YouTube is like, go watch 8 years of YouTube episodes. I've created about 1,900 of them or so now. So, get busy. There's playlists in the thing. Let's see. As you can tell, this room here doesn't have a second floor. Let's hop down. This is going to be the barracks that's converted to where the hermits sleep. I think I'm going to put an extra half slab underneath there to kind of finish that out. But yeah, I'm really happy with the overall way that the adding the roof is kind of filling out the build. If we come out here to the beach and take a look. Whoops. Oh no, I fell. Why can't I fly? The lag is intense. This is what happens when everyone's on the server all at once. There we go. Yeah, check that out. We've got our roof coming in pretty well here. We're going to have one peaked segment here, another there. And then there's actually a flat section in the middle that is going to go over this main area because, once again, this was originally a fort, and the idea was that they needed a place where they could have like a bunch of supplies and stuff for people on the roof to hide behind the peaks and then shoot down at people from. So, I don't know that that's actually the best logic, but that's the logic that's given in the adventure, and so that's the logic we're doing. I'm also thinking I'm going to end up putting an overhang, kind of like this, on other parts of the roof, maybe underhanging some of it some. I don't know, I'm going to have to see how all that goes. But I hope you guys take a minute to leave a comment in the YouTube comment section below telling me what you think about this build and what you think I should do with the next 8 years of YouTube. Because so far I've just been making it up as I go, and by the time I'm 8 years in, I should probably have some sort of plan or something. So, anyway. Oh, one last thing. You might have noticed that this episode was mid-roll ad-free. That's thanks to brand new $100 a month Patreon sponsor, Bioduck, who, in lieu of that mid-roll ad, I will do nothing. He has basically, I put in as a joke at $50 a month, I would read a poem that I wrote, and then for $100 a month, you get a no mid-roll ad, and I won't even read a poem. So you just, you don't have to be, I don't have to inflict my poetry upon you. I didn't realize when I wrote that people would actually like the poetry. So, anyway, that's nice, though. I get a break from being self-indulgent to celebrate 8 years of being self-indulgent on YouTube. So thank you very much, Bioduck. And, yeah, oh, we need to put the windows in, too. Also, yeah, there's a lot of detail work that hasn't been done. We're just trying to get the main structure in place. Windows and archery slits and all that stuff will be in soon. Also, better wall decoration. I just been putting whatever sandstone I had. Lots of room for improvement, but this building has good bones. And thanks again to Greg A. Vaugn for imagining those bones and allowing us to indulge our own imaginations. Anyway, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.